Alright, before we head off headlong into Sketchup, I do want to point out that AutoCAD has a product called Max 3ds, and that's probably one of the places you really want to think about downloading and exploring. Architectural, all these have materials and rendering. You've done some in the past, so I want to introduce you to the concept of Anapath, which is the AutoCAD command. I've got another video on it anyway, so the way that's going to work best, and it's only going to be for looking at your model, not necessarily for other things moving inside of it, though that's possible as well using Lisp, is that you want to get some paths, and those paths would probably come from some 3D data, but you can also do some good work off of 2D data. So I'm going to look at the export that I did from before, and remember what we exported was contour lines for the existing and then faces for the proposed, and then you see underneath there I've actually then figured out and brought in a alignment that's along the space at 0, 0. So I'm just do a V point 1, 1, 1, and you can notice that what I also did was copy that path up above where we're at. So in a second I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this one, and this one here I'm going to go ahead and move it or copy it up to the beginning of our project, so we can kind of do a drive through, though again I haven't laid it into the 3D. So this orbit, it's great, but it doesn't necessarily work unless you really know what's going on. The command plan's a great one, and then learning to just kind of go V point 1, 1, 0.25 is one great way, and you can kind of start to see where you're going at and from, and you really want it to be V point 1, minus 1, minus 1, minus 0.25. What you're doing is you're writing a vector for your eye, and it is keeping the target at 0, 0. So V point of minus 1, minus 1, minus 0.25. Trying to think a little bit in vectors. I'm at the bottom of this thing looking down, so we're actually looking at underneath, and you notice that the camera gets out of whack. So I'm going to go undo here, undo, go back to plan, and at this point I would like to actually take this object, right, left click, spacebar, C for copy, and we're going to put it to the .xy of the end of that face, and I should then have something. If I list it, it should be up in 3D space, and it is not. So I'm going to go V point 1, 1, 1, and see that I wanted to move this thing up, and so I'm going to actually move it up to the top of that hill this way. Take that here, left click, spacebar, move point to the .xy of the end of that, and what's my .z for my .z of the end of that. So it should have moved that up. Zoom 0.2x, and I should have something up here in space. I did a move, unfortunately. I should have done a copy, so I'm going to go ahead and do an undo and try it again. Forgot to hit that. Left click, you're going to the principal's office, left click, spacebar, C for copy, .xy of the end of that, with the Z of .z of the end of that, and you want to move it to the doing that wrong. Once again, left click, spacebar, .xy of the end of that, and then the .c of that. You have to remember the copy. So you do get out of habit, I have to say, but trying to develop that grabbing and moving capability and going with it is worthwhile. Left click, spacebar, C for copy, .xy of the end of that, need a Z of .z of the end, and I'm going to go all the way up to the top of my hill here. And now I've got two things kind of done. What I'm going to do now, just out of curiosity, I'm going to copy that to the north about 20 feet. Click here at 0, 20, 0. And now I have two paths, and hopefully that's going to now get me to a point where I can do my anapath pretty nicely. Now the reality is I've got two different things here. I've got that one and this one here, so I'm going to try to take this one and just move it slightly. Left click spacebar at 2, 0, 0. And I'm just kind of getting you set that what I'm going to be doing is using the anapath following those two things. So let's see how it goes. Anapath. You're going to select the path. The camera is going to be to the one here, and the target is going to be to the one there. And we'll see how it goes. We're going to hit a preview here. And there you go, driving down the road. Not too bad, not too shabby though. In the end, we lose it in the end. So, one more time, let's try it again. This time we're going to do realistic, and we'll try it, see what it looks like. Preview here. There you go, going down. Because of that, what we had done, you lose it around the turn, but that's a reasonable way, and we're going to go ahead and put this one out to a movie file, and go ahead and hit OK and watch how it actually, we'll go ahead and put it a little bit bigger than that, 640 by 480. Later on, rendering, so I want to point out that this has easy render capabilities inside of AutoCAD, and Max 3ds is definitely something you're going to want to go to. So I'm going to go back to my movie here. I've been working on some other things as well. I'm going to put AutoCAD and a path. Now, the programming then to get things to move inside is why, in effect, that we're moving over towards SketchUp, some of us. So this is actually just doing a really quick frame. You can see the Cul De Sac coming through, and it loses itself around the edge there. So reasonably good stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and file save this, and hopefully it'll save those paths. So right now, file, save, and we are file, save as in the temp directory, and I'm going to hit save as an 04, and we're going to see what now comes in the SketchUp. We will work on this in a faster, more durable machine, and in fact also on a newer version of SketchUp 8. But the ability to pull in AutoCAD from SketchUp is definitely something worthwhile, worth doing, and something that starts to overwhelm this machine when you're also recording. So we'll see how that goes. Going into SketchUp, like in all programs, immediately go to your model and making sure that you're in the right units. Hopefully that works out. If you're off in units, you're off by 12. You're going to erase, and we're now going to do a file import. Cul De Sac visualization. You see it come in. We read it all at once, and it looks like it came in pretty well. I had cleaned out the file. It's getting a little sloggy here, unfortunately, but I'm going to go ahead and hit a view extents. There you are. There's your model, and you really see that, right? So the contouring, these things are all layered, so it's going to be really tough to arrange here, but this is going to then give you this ability to put your camera on something there and look down the road and change the eye height once again. 112, 1230 might work, or 1250, 1250 feet. You got to be right. So 1200 feet, 1100 feet, 1050 feet, 1040 feet. Learning to kind of key things in. 1030 feet. And you can start to see now as you go ahead and do camera, view, animation, add scene. And let's see how that works. Well, OLE, it gave me something there. That wasn't good. That came from AutoCAD. That's pretty good. That one's not bad. And this one here, who knows what it did. That was the camera that was set from before. So back to scene 3 here. You have this ability to hit a scene. I'm going to go right now back to scene 3. I'm going to now walk down the road a little bit. Kind of losing a bit, right? I'm going to come up to the Cul De Sac here in a second. And right here, I'm going to go ahead and hit View, Animation, Add Scene. And I'll keep walking around. You start to see where, oh, there's the Cul De Sac. View, Animation, Add Scene. But because when you're going around a curve, you need to take a lot more points. View, Animation, Add Scene. You need to grab many, many more points going around a curve than you would View, Animation, Add Scene. And then going down here, I fall off the road. So when you go and right click Scene Manager, you can all of a sudden get rid of the ones you don't want, and then set it up. Now we're seeing whether this is still recording. We're still generally okay. Whether or not this records or not, it's hard to say. The next steps are going to be later on to change things like styles and everything else, but with the Scene Manager we can go ahead and update and change what we want here. But you also want to learn to set View, Animation, Settings. You want to set those based on however your points were put in. So I'll go 5 seconds and 0 in between. And now when you do basically here, you'll see it goes back to where you started. And as you go from scene to scene, it should be zooming along the road just like the AutoCAD AVI file. You can see up above here, that where up above us is the paths that we defined when we made that 3D line set a pass for the camera and the like. So my general sense is that control of the camera, particularly in terms of some other things, is going to be a little bit better in SketchUp, though definitely Max 3ds is going to be more standard and worth getting. So right there we're to the point where we finish. So what I'm going to finally now do here is to export that in SketchUp, and you can watch the process here. File, Export. You can go to Animation, and I'm going to, at this point, you can select your options. You can go as big as you want, as small as you want. Knowing your standard frame sizes are good. 640 by 480. If you go to 15 by 16 by 9, it looks more like this. 1280 by 720. Go back to here. 640 by 480. And you kind of are set to go. I'm going to stop this just before I hit OK here, because it'll probably take down the machine. That is, in fact, how you go about doing a simple fly-through animation. And then the next bits, of course, are using those point files to stack cars and pedestrians and the like. Once again, all you need is sets of X, Y, and Z point files for the paths of where you want things, and then some sort of concept of time step analysis. If you want something to move faster, you can either go through more points or more likely to keep the points farther away. If you want it to go slower, you put the points closer together, and if you want it to stop, you just have to basically edit in your data file. Thanks for listening.